I am a part of this house too. I am your family member, you know. My mother-in-law Phyllis snickered when I said that. Huh? Who are you? Who do you think you are? My family only consists of 4 people. No matter what I do, my mother-in-law seems to treat me like a stranger. I ran out of patience and decided to go back to my parents' house. When my parents heard what I had to say, they were furious.
I will have a nice chat with them.
But I calmly replied to my parents. Don't worry, I've already got my revenge from them. My name is Brianna. I'm 34 years old and I work from home. I recently got married to a man named Todd. We met at a matchmaking party held by my friend. Working from home, I rarely met anyone, and my friend, who was worried about that, set up the matchmaking party for me. All my life, I have been devoted to my studies, and my love life was secondary. Even after I became an adult, I continued to focus on work and didn't prioritize my love life, so before I knew it, I was almost turning in my 30s without having any experience in love. Then, I met Todd at the matchmaking party I attended. He was very bright, and he stood out at the party. I was very nervous because it was my first time to attend a party like this, but he talked to me a lot, and I was able to fit in well thanks to him. Then we changed seats, and everyone started talking to their neighbors, and I ended up next to Todd. So we talked about a lot of things.
Huh. Brianna, you work from home. That's so cool. It sounds like what people would do nowadays.
Oh, you think so? Personally, I think it's pretty dull.
That's not true. You should have more confidence in yourself.
I was glad he complimented me like that. And he even asked me out on a date. I had been attracted to him from the party, so I said yes to his date request and we went out together on our day off. He was very interesting to talk to, and he kept leading me and pulling me along to do some things on the date. I was quite reserved when it came to romance, so I think a type like him was a good match for me. We even got married a year after we started dating. I was surprised that I got married much quicker than I had imagined. But I was very happy that he proposed to me and I wanted to marry him. Besides, I felt like I was at the right age to marry him, and I think he had that same idea in mind. Well, that's what I at least thought so at the time. Then we greeted each other's parents. There I met my in-laws for the first time. Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Brianna. Hi, nice to meet you. We are Todd's parents. Thank you for marrying such a boy like him.
Hey, Mom, what do you mean?
Oh, you're right. I used the wrong word. Thank you for marrying such a guy like him.
What? That didn't change anything.
I was so amused by the exchange between him and his mother that I let out a laugh. At first, I was nervous about the wedding greeting, but thanks to his mother, I felt relaxed. From then on, the wedding greeting proceeded in a pleasant atmosphere from start to finish. Brianna, I'm looking forward to being your family for a long time. Yes, me too. Thank you very much. After that, the meeting between the two families was successfully completed, and Todd and I had a nice ceremony. All my friends attended the ceremony and congratulated me greatly for my marriage. I was very satisfied that the wedding ceremony was done exactly as I wanted it to be. After the wedding, my husband and I went on our honeymoon. It was my first time to go abroad, and I was very impressed by how wonderful it was. It was to Maldives, and it was a valuable experience for me as I had never left the US before. I would like to travel abroad regularly in the future, is what I thought to myself. Then my husband and I returned back to the US. Our joyful newlywed life was about to begin. I excitedly got off at the airport. Then my husband said this to me.
Actually, I have already prepared a room for us to live together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've already moved my stuff, so all I have to do is move Brianna's stuff. Why don't we pack up and move in together now?
Yeah, I will. I was surprised, not knowing that my husband had done that as a surprise. But I was very happy that he was thinking like that to make our newlywed life better together. Then my husband helped me pack my belongings. As expected, it was difficult to finish packing in one day, so we divided it into 2 or 3 days and packed little by little. We decided that if we were going to spend a few days, we should call a moving company, so I had my necessary belongings loaded onto a truck and my husband and I drove to the new house. I was excited to get in the car with my husband, but I felt a certain discomfort on the way. The roads around here do look familiar. I remember there's a supermarket here, and I think I have been here once. My husband entered a residential area, and it was at this point that I finally realized where we were headed. Hey, could this new house be... When I asked him that, he turned the wheel and said,
My parents' house, of course.
What? I said so, feeling really surprised. Wait a minute. You mean we're going to live with my mother-in-law and father-in-law?
Yes, that's right.
What? I didn't hear anything about this.
Well, that's because it's a surprise.
What the heck? I'm not at all happy about that surprise. As I was turning pale, my husband saw my facial expression and became grumpy.
What? You don't want to live with my parents?
No, that's not it, but I just wanted you to discuss such an important matter naturally to me instead of keeping quiet about it.
But if I do that, then it wouldn't be a good surprise.
And that's why I said there's no need to make it a surprise. I was a little irritated that my husband, who couldn't understand my feelings and my tone, became a little colder. My husband became even grumpy and said angrily,
What's with that attitude? You're the one who married me and married into my family. What your husband says is absolute. Don't be selfish and just do what I say.
I was so surprised at the change in my husband's attitude that I froze. My husband had been very kind to me when we were dating and had been a gentleman to me. But he was a different person in front of me right now.
We got here, so get off.
I had no choice but to get out of the car. Then my mother-in-law Phyllis came out from their house. Todd, Brianna, welcome home. Saying so, Phyllis greeted us with a huge smile. I was surprised by my husband's sudden declaration that we were going to live together, but the fact that Phyllis greeted us so kindly made my anxiety disappear a little. My parents-in-law are nice people, so living together might not be hard. Well, if possible, I wanted to live only with just the two of us at first. I've already asked the movers to move my stuff, so there's no backing out now. I was not convinced, but I had no choice but to move in with my in-laws. But this decision was a huge mistake I had made. I should have left my parents-in-law at that time, even if I had to throw everything away. I went to my in-laws' house with a lot of anxiety. On the first day, my in-laws treated me kindly, and I felt a little calmer. However, I felt a little distrustful towards my husband. I wondered if that overbearing attitude of Todd was his true nature. At dinner that night, my husband was in a good mood after having his favorite food delivered to his house, so I did not know if it was his true nature or not. But the next day, I would soon regret coming to this house. When I woke up in the morning and went to the living room, Phyllis had a scary look on her face. Good morning. I thought she might be angry, so I greeted her quietly. But Phyllis did not respond back and ordered me to make breakfast as soon as possible. When I was being stunned, Phyllis looked annoyed and yelled at me. Why are you just standing there? Get moving! Prepare breakfast! I had no choice but to stand in the kitchen after being yelled at like that. But I didn't know where the cooking utensils and seasonings were, and I didn't want to be asked to cook a meal for the family all of a sudden. As I fumbled around, Phyllis let out a deep sigh. Oh no, you can't do any housework at all, can you? You are useless as a wife. I don't know why she'd say that to me. Then Phyllis glared at me. What's with that face?
Huh?
You're making a face like you're trying to go against me. Oh, no. You're a cocky wife, you know. You've married into this family and you have to do as we tell you to do. I was completely speechless. Phyllis was making the same comments as what Todd had said yesterday. Perhaps the true nature of the people in this house is the same for everyone, and they intend to treat the wife as slaves. As I was preparing breakfast with this thought in mind, my husband and father-in-law, Dan, woke up. My father-in-law said one word: coffee. As I was concentrating on preparing breakfast, I heard Dan's angry voice.
Hey, you! I said coffee. Can you not hear well?
Dan apparently said that one word, coffee, to tell me to prepare coffee. I was surprised, but quickly prepared the coffee.
My goodness, what a useless wife you are. I guess you haven't done any housework in your life, have you?
Dan sipped his coffee while saying such a thing. I realized that not a single person in this house was on my side. And for the rest of the day, my in-laws were always trying to bully me. You're the housewife, so it's natural that you have to do all the housework.
It's only natural, since Todd is the one who feeds for you.
My in-laws would say things like that. I explained many times that I work from home, but they would not listen to me. My husband's goal seemed to be to take me to my in-laws and use me as their housekeeper, and they didn't even feel guilty at what they were doing to me.
You better listen to my mother and father. If I hadn't married you, no one would have taken you in as a wife.
My husband would often verbally abuse me like that, and every single time I heard him say those things, I got depressed. When I didn't rebel and did as they said, my in-laws got more and more out of line and stopped treating me like a person. First of all, they stopped calling me by name and only said, "Hey, you!" Then they started to use words to denigrate my personality on a daily basis. My in-laws kept saying, "You parasite." And before I knew it, my husband started calling me a parasite too. I wanted to leave this house, but I knew that if I just ran away, I would end up not being able to have a chance to get back at them. My in-laws would probably go around telling my neighbors and relatives that I was a terrible wife and made me look bad. I cannot allow that to happen. I was actually looking for an opportunity to revenge on my in-laws. That's why I've been going through these hardships. In the midst of all this, something happened that was indeed unbearable for me. It happened one day. My husband unusually asked me to make a reservation at a fancy restaurant. Normally, I would think this was just an order, but it was almost my husband and I's wedding anniversary. I was surprised because I didn't think my husband would remember our anniversary. I was just a little bit happy and tried to call and make a reservation. But when I tried to make a reservation for 2, Phyllis suddenly snatched the phone away from me. "Please make a reservation for 4 people." She then hung up the phone. "What are you doing?" I said as I asked her to give me the phone back. Phyllis replies, "You made a reservation for 2 people. Are you an idiot?" But my husband and I were celebrating our wedding anniversary that day. When I said that much, Phyllis interrupted me and said, "What? What are you talking about? Who cares about that? My daughter who studied abroad is coming home that day, so we're all going out for dinner as a family." Excuse me? Apparently, my mother-in-law was planning to go to a restaurant not with me, my husband, and my father-in-law, but with them and my sister-in-law. I was completely appalled. I am a part of this house too. I am your family member, you know. My mother-in-law, Phyllis, snickered when I said that. Huh? Who are you? Who do you think you are? My family only consists of 4 people. You're just a slave, a housekeeper. Don't ever get the wrong idea. No matter what I do, my mother-in-law seems to treat me like a stranger. Since I ran out of patience, I decided to go back to my parents' house. I then packed my bags and went to my parents' house while my in-laws went to the fancy restaurant. My parents were surprised to see me arrive with my large luggage. I explained to my parents about my life at my in-laws until now. My parents were furious when they heard what I had to say.
I'll have a chat with them.
But I calmly replied to my parents, "Don't worry, I've already taken my revenge."
What?
My parents both looked confused. I told my mother, "It's been a while since I've had your meals, Mom, and I want to relax," and went inside the house. And my mother put all her skill into cooking many delicious home-cooked meals. While I was enjoying my mother's cooking, my phone rang repeatedly. Most of the calls and messages were from my husband and mother-in-law, so I decided to turn off my phone. That day, I took a relaxing bath at my parents' house and went to sleep in a relaxed state. Then the next day, when I turned on my phone, I still received many calls from my mother-in-law and husband. I had no choice but to answer the phone. Then I heard my mother-in-law's panicking voice. "You, what are you doing? You can't just leave the divorce papers and take all your stuff with you." "That's exactly what I mean. I can no longer live with you people. I can't stand your bullying anymore." As I said this, I heard my husband's voice. Apparently, the phone was on speaker.
You've got to be kidding me. I won't allow you to divorce me. I mean, come home right now and do the housework, you parasite.
Todd spits out his words. I really don't know how I can deal with these people anymore. Because you keep on behaving like that, that's why I don't want to live with you all anymore.
What? Hey, you better be joking. A wife is supposed to do whatever her husband and his family says. If you don't understand that, you're not qualified to be a wife.
I struggled to hold back my laughter at my husband, who was getting himself into more and more trouble. Why don't you just leave it at that already?
Huh? What do you mean?
Did you really think that I haven't done anything for about the last 6 months or so? I kept a notebook of all the times you people have abused and bullied me, and I recorded every horrible word you said to me. I even recorded what you said on the phone just now.
What the? How dare you?
My in-laws started to get upset, so I decided to tell them all about my plan. I have all the evidence of the treatment I received from you guys, and after showing it to them, I'm consulting with my lawyer. According to my lawyer, I can get a divorce due to it being your fault, Todd, and I can also get compensation for the damages you caused.
Compensation?
And my revenge won't end just like that. I'm sending copies of the bullying records to your workplace, your father-in-law's workplace, your relatives, and your neighbors. And a certified letter to your workplace. When I said this, my in-laws fell silent.
Oh no.
I heard my husband's voice, which sounded like a squeezed, fading voice. And I finally said, "Oh, and you keep calling me a parasite and talking about other people, but I do work from home and I make a lot more money than your son. I know you people don't understand that because you think I'm just a housewife just because I'm home. If you think I'm lying, why don't you ask your idiot son? Either way, I'm definitely getting a divorce anyway, and I'm getting compensation. Well, that's all from me, so don't call me anymore. If you call again, I'll call the police." I said that to them over the phone. My in-laws became quiet at once, so I hung up the phone and blocked their numbers from my phone. After that, as expected, my in-laws got a lot of criticisms from people around them. Both Dan and my husband are getting cold shoulder from people at work. Furthermore, the relatives cursed at them, saying, "You are a disgrace to your relatives," and "Don't even come to your relatives' gatherings." As for Phyllis, she became mentally ill and became a shut-in because her neighbors stopped hanging out with her. On the other hand, I successfully got a divorce from my husband and also got compensation. I am now working from home at my parents' house and enjoying my days, occasionally traveling abroad with my parents. I will continue to take my parents to various countries to take care of them as their daughter while working hard at my job. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.
My mother-in-law and my husband uses our daughter's college entrance fee to travel overseas as a result.
What? Wait a minute. Lila, where are you going? To Hawaii. To Hawaii? Where would she find that kind of money? At that moment, it finally hit me. To my surprise, the money I had set aside for my daughter's college admission fee was gone. What the heck are you doing, Jason?
I'm going to take care of my mother, so don't get in the way of that.
Well then, I'll bring back home some souvenirs. With that, the two of them left the house, grinning. I murmured softly as I watched their backs. Don't think that your wife in the house will always be there. My name is Wendy. I am a 46-year-old housewife. I live with my husband Jason, my daughter Beth, and my mother-in-law Lila. Originally, the three of us, Jason, Beth, and I, lived together, but after my father-in-law passed away about 5 years ago, my husband forced Lila to come live at our house. I honestly did not want to live with Lila. I knew that Lila clearly did not like me. The first time I began to think that was when I first met her and greeted her before the wedding. Oh my, you are kind of a boring person, aren't you? I think you and Jason are not a good match. I remember not being able to close my mouth since I was really surprised when she suddenly said such a thing to me. I was glad that my father-in-law scolded Lila then and apologized to me about it quickly, but I thought that she was a very insane person to say such a thing to me on when we just met.
I'm sorry my mother said such a terrible thing to you. Please, don't take it to heart.
My husband told me that later, but I wish he was the one who had warned Lila at that time. I remember being a little worried that Jason could not be strong enough to directly confront his own mother. But I still loved him, so I married him, and I knew I wouldn't be living with Lila or anything like that, at least back then. However, after I started living with my husband, I learned an unpleasant fact that I had not expected at all. That is that my husband was an overbearing husband.
Since we got married, I want you to quit your job.
What? You told me I could work even after we got married.
I may have said so at first, but I've changed my mind. Quit your work immediately and focus entirely being a housewife.
No way. You can't just say that out of the blue. Besides, I have to tell the company at least a month in advance to quit, you know.
Then you better definitely quit by the end of this month.
My husband said that and gave me no choice but to quit my work. In the end, I quit the company after a month and became a full-time housewife. From then on, I began to distrust my husband bit by bit. I wondered if he would ever protect me if something ever happened. It was during this time that I found out that I was pregnant. When I told my husband that I was pregnant, he was very happy.
You did a great job, Wendy.
I was very happy to hear him compliment me like that. After that, he became very kind to me and began to treat me really well.
Are you okay? Wendy, don't take it too hard. If it gets difficult, we can order some food, okay? Both you and the baby needs to be healthy.
I was really happy that he said that to me when I was suffering from my morning sickness. And only when I was pregnant, Lila was also kind and treating me well. Wendy, is there anything I can help you with? I'll go shopping or something instead of you. Oh, thank you, Lila. That would be a great help. Lila had always been a bully to me. Every time I saw her since the beginning of our marriage. But only during the pregnancy, she was kind to me as if she had changed her mind. But when the delivery date was approaching, an unpleasant incident happened again. So, did you find out the gender of the baby? My mother-in-law, my husband, and I were having a relaxing cup of tea when she asked me that question. Yes, the doctor told me that we're having a baby girl. As I said this while rubbing my belly, I felt the air freeze. Sensing something was wrong, I looked at my husband and Lila. They both slowly closed and opened their eyes and sighed. I knew it. You really are a useless woman. Excuse me?
Give us back the time we spent being so nice to you.
Wait, what do you mean?
Normally, it's a wife's duty to have a boy first and reassure her husband's family about leaving an heir, you know?
Huh? What are you going to do if my husband and I lose our family line here? No way. The moment my husband and mother-in-law found out that we're having a baby girl, they completely changed their attitude 180 degrees. From then on, no matter how sick I was, they never cared about me and the baby at all.
Why isn't dinner ready?
I'm sorry, I'm not feeling very well.
You do know that you can't get sick just because you're pregnant, right? Don't you dare slack off.
Yelling at me like that, my husband went back to my parents-in-law's house for dinner. I was so worried because I was left alone all the time even though I wasn't at my best and I wasn't feeling well at all. I was also worried about what would happen after our daughter was born. I wondered if Jason would treat my daughter with disrespect. While I had these worries and fears in my mind, I finally gave birth to my daughter. When my daughter was born, my husband and Lila both said she was adorable and happily held her in their arms. So, I was relieved to see that. For the time being, it seemed that they would take good care of my daughter. In fact, my husband loves our daughter so much that he now leaves work early and comes home early just so he could spend more time with her. Thanks to my husband taking care of our daughter, I was able to take a bath at night and cook a few side dishes for the coming week. But his attitude towards me remained the same.
Are you actually taking good care of Beth during the day? Are you feeding her milk properly?
Yes, of course. Taking good care of her.
If anything happens to Beth, I won't forgive you.
My husband glares at me as he says this. Is this the way a husband should look at his own wife? If this scene was from a comic, sparks would be flying to show how angry he looked. And to make matters worse, Lila also came to our house frequently. I've come to see you, little Beth. Wendy, please prepare tea and sweets right away. Lila would always come over unannounced, not caring if I was doing the housework or not. I had just finally put my daughter to bed and was quietly cleaning up when Lila took the liberty of picking her up and waking her up even though she was sound asleep. Then my daughter started to wail and cry. Hey, Wendy! Beth is crying! Thinking that she was the one who made her cry, I interrupted my cleaning to take care of my daughter. I glanced at Lila, who was just gracefully eating tea cakes at the dining table. I was fed up with Lila and my husband being so selfish and treating me so horribly. Then time passed. My daughter turned 3 and started kindergarten, so I decided to go to work part-time. I thought it would be better to save money for my daughter's tuition in the future. However, when I told my husband that I was going to work part-time, he opposed to that idea.
You complain that I don't make enough money? What a terrible wife you are.
That's not what I meant. I just want to work so that Beth can get a good education without worrying about money. When I said I was going to work part-time for our daughter, my husband was giving it a thought.
Well, if it's for Beth's sake, I guess it can't be helped. But don't ever cut corners on the housework, understood?
I understand, I promise. And so I was able to work part-time. Why are you working even though you're the housewife? Normally, a housewife is supposed to support the family, right? Lila complained that way, but I didn't care what she said, and worked. I was glad I started working part-time, both mentally and financially, because I saw Lila less often, I was less stressed, and I was also able to reconnect with the society again. Conversing with people at work made me feel better, as I learned that there were other people who were also struggling with issues with their in-laws, or with their own partners. And so I spent my life balancing part-time work and housework. Time passed by in a flash, and my daughter became a middle school student. However, my father-in-law passed away around this time, and my husband brought Lila back home without discussing to me about it, because he felt sorry for her being alone. From then on, my difficult days with Lila began. "Hey, Wendy, I prefer to eat bread in the morning, and fried eggs. Make sure the yolk is well cooked, all right?" I greeted the morning with Lila's yelling voice. Lila had always bullied me, even 10-some years after I got married to Jason. Until now, I could put up with it because we lived apart, but now that we are living together, there is no escape. It was really difficult for me mentally. Then, in the midst of all this, my daughter started to realize what was happening and began to take my side. "Grandma, why are you so hard on Mom?" What? No, I'm trying to educate your mom to be a proper wife as her mother-in-law. But it doesn't even seem or look like you're doing that. You look like you're enjoying tormenting Mom. Don't make my mom suffer. What? No way, I'm not doing that. Lila flinched when my daughter spoke harshly to her like that. After that, Lila stopped picking on me in front of my daughter. When it was just the two of us, she would still pick on me, but I would talk to my daughter about it when it became too much, and Beth would get mad at Lila later on. Lila would argue back right away whenever I say something to her, but I guess she is still weak against her granddaughter. Lila was speechless and didn't know what to say whenever Beth said things to her. I felt much better knowing that my daughter was on my side. But then, a few years later, since she got used to it, Lila began to talk back to my daughter as expected, after Beth had been angry with her many times. She then started trying to get Jason on her side by telling him about it. So my husband scolded my daughter and became angry with me, saying,
"What kind of discipline did you even give Beth?"
My daughter argued against my husband, who was taking my mother-in-law's side, and so it was like Lila and Jason versus Beth and me was formed in our family. While the atmosphere in the house continued to be bad, I could not go through with a divorce so easily, considering that my daughter was about to take an entrance exam and go to college. But then something happened that made me lose my patience. It was the day of my daughter's high school graduation ceremony. I thought that at least today we would celebrate her graduation together as a family without any arguments. However, as I was getting ready to leave in the morning, I heard the sound of shoes being put on, and I rushed to the front door. Then I saw Lila about to leave the house with a large suitcase. Huh? Wait a minute, Lila, where are you going? To Hawaii, of course. To Hawaii? What do you mean? My son and I are going on a trip to Hawaii. Excuse me? What are you talking about? Beth's graduation ceremony is coming up. You do know that, right? Ha! What's the fun in attending that cocky little girl's graduation ceremony? I'll choose to go to a fun trip with my son who loves me. No way. As I froze in surprise at what Lila was saying, my husband came up behind me carrying a suitcase. Wait, are you seriously going on a trip? I've never heard of any parent not going to their own son or daughter's graduation ceremony.
Oh, shut up. Since you're gonna go anyways, I don't have to go, do I? I'm going to enjoy my trip to Hawaii with my mom starting today.
I can't believe Jason's leaving his own daughter to go on a trip. And I have something else on my mind. Where would they even find that kind of money to Hawaii? My husband is actually not good at saving money and tends to spend money away. So much so that I do my best to make ends meet. Therefore, I did not know where the money came from. At that moment, something came across my mind. I quickly checked the bank book. You're joking, right? To my surprise, the money I had set aside for my daughter's college admission had disappeared. What is the meaning of this, Jason? Could it be that you are using this money to go on a trip with your mother?
Yeah, because this is my money, right? I'm going to take care of my own mother. So, don't get in the way of that.
What the hell are you talking about? This is the money I worked part-time to save for my daughter. The amount you withdrew is equivalent to Beth's college admission fee.
It doesn't matter though, right? I mean, there's still lots of money in the bank book.
My husband then began to put on his shoes. I really can't believe it. What on earth is this man even thinking? Well then, we'll bring back some souvenirs. With that, the two of them left the house with a grin on their faces. I looked at their backs and murmured softly, "Don't think that your wife in the house will always be there." I sighed and hugged my daughter, who was looking at me all concerned. "Mom, does that mean that I can't go to college?" "No, don't worry. I'll make sure you'll attend the college you worked so hard to get into." Saying this to my daughter, we attended her graduation ceremony. Then, when we got home, I thought of a plan and decided to implement it. And the plan was to sell the house. Actually, the house we are living in now was bought by my father.
Since you two got married and will have a baby soon, Jason wouldn't be making that much money yet, so I'll buy a house for your family, honey.
Saying that, my father gave us the house as a gift. I am sure my husband forgot about those old days and thought it was the house he'd bought for us. So I immediately contacted my father and asked him to sell the house since the house was still under his name. Fortunately, a buyer was quickly found and I began preparing to move out with my daughter. As for my husband and Lila's belongings, I explained the situation and had them sent to my brother-in-law's house. My brother-in-law apologized to me, saying,
"I'm really sorry for the trouble my brother and my mother have caused you."
I am sure my brother-in-law must have had a hard time when he lived with those two as well. After we finished removing all of our belongings, my daughter and I decided to live temporarily at my parents' house for now. Then I received a call from my husband and Lila, who had returned from Hawaii.
"Oh, hey, what's going on? Why can't we get into the house?"
"Oh, that's because we sold the house. Since it's not ours anymore, we changed the locks right away."
"Huh? What do you mean? Why would you sell my house for?"
"I knew it. You did forget. That house is in my father's name, you know that, right?"
"What?"
"You and Lila crossed the line you shouldn't have crossed. So I won't tolerate you both anymore. There is no place for you and your mother in that house, and I'm divorcing you."
Divorce? Now wait a minute. What do you think you're doing?
"I'm doing whatever I think is right for my daughter and I. And I'm still being tormented by you people. Well, I guess from now on you guys might be in big trouble since you don't have your housekeeper anymore."
Oh no. I mean, where's our stuff then?
"I explained the situation to your brother and sent your stuffs at his place."
What the? What are you doing, Wendy?
"Huh?"
That guy and I don't get along, you know that.
"Yeah, I know that very well. But there's nowhere else where I could send your things, so it can't be helped. Anyway, I won't forgive you guys anymore. Let's talk about divorce through my lawyer." With that, I hung up the phone. I could hear Lila screaming, but I hung up before she could take over the phone and block the calls from them. I then demanded a divorce from my husband through my lawyer. My husband was reluctant until the end, but finally agreed. By the way, it seems that my brother-in-law had been mistreated by Lila and my husband, so he sold off their belongings one after another in order to get back to them. And he used the money to travel overseas. Even though Lila and my husband wanted to collect the rest of their belongings, they could not do so because my brother-in-law was gone traveling overseas. And since they have no savings at all, they were having trouble getting furniture and appliances right away, even if they rented a new room. Lila had been pushing me to do all the housework when we used to live together. And moreover, since she's getting older and can no longer move as much as she would like, my ex-husband is now forced to do the housework while working. And on top of that, he has to take Lila to the hospital. I think it's really nice that Jason is now paying the price for all the things he has been pushing me to do. Meanwhile, I have been offered a job as an office clerk at a company owned by a friend of my father's. I now have a steady income and I am able to pay for my daughter's college tuition. I will continue to live vibrantly as a single mother while taking care of my daughter and my parents.
The combination of an overbearing husband and a mother-in-law who bullies the wife is the worst. I think Wendy has endured well in such a family. I am glad that her daughter grew up to be a good girl. I hope Wendy and her daughter Beth continue to get along well with each other and cooperate with each other in various ways and live happily ever after. Thank you for watching to the end. Please subscribe to our channel if you like. See you in the next video.
I was taking care of my mother-in-law when she asked me to leave the house, but a shocking photo revealed the truth, forcing me to leave.
Could you please leave this house, Amy? Huh? I was suddenly asked such a thing by my mother-in-law. Come on, Mom. Don't say that. I said so and laughed, but my mother-in-law's eyes weren't smiling. Wait, are you seriously telling me to leave? As I was puzzled and I didn't understand, my mother-in-law showed me a photo she took out of the drawer. Huh? As soon as I saw the photo, I made up my mind. I'll leave right away. My name is Amy. I'm a 35-year-old office worker. I've been married to Tyler for 3 years. We were originally colleagues and joined the company at the same time. We worked hard together, supporting and competing with each other every day. At some point, we naturally became closer and we started going out for drinks together as a couple. We're in the same work cohort, so our ages are the same and we have many common topics to talk about. Our values are also similar, so being together feels very comfortable. After that, we started meeting privately and our relationship began. And then after smoothly continuing our relationship for 2 years, he proposed to me, and we decided to get married. After that, we went to his parents' house to give our marriage greetings, and I was able to quickly get along with his parents.
Amy, you have a wonderful smile and you're a great girl.
Thank you very much.
Tyler is lucky to have you. Wait, Dad, what do you mean by that?
His parents were very friendly and easy to talk to, and they were good people. So I was confident that this marriage would definitely be a happy one. After completing the formal meeting between both families, we successfully married. After getting married, my husband found a job opening for a mid-career position that he had been interested in for a while. He went for the interview and decided to switch jobs. It was a little sad that we couldn't work in the same company anymore, but I wanted to support my husband's wishes. When he got the job, we celebrated together. My husband was able to do the work he wanted and was lively and energetic every day. To help my husband adapt to his new job as quickly as possible, I started taking the initiative to do household chores and try to come home on time as much as possible.
I'm home.
Oh, welcome back. Dinner is ready.
I'm starving. What are we having today?
Today, we're having hamburgers.
Yes, I'll change quickly.
For the sake of my hard-working husband, I didn't mind taking on the majority of the household chores. In this way, we were enjoying our newlywed life very much. As my husband became more accustomed to his work, I gradually started increasing my overtime hours just like before. I found efficient ways to handle household tasks, and I successfully utilized meal prepping and other methods to save time. Because of this, even with overtime, I had no problem preparing dinner, and I didn't feel physically exhausted. On our days off, we went on trips and enjoyed various fun activities. We also visited my in-laws' house frequently. My in-laws treated me very well, and I felt like they were my real parents. Especially with my mother-in-law, we had a great relationship, and we even went shopping together as a duo.
Tyler is our only son, so of course he's adorable, but I also wanted a daughter. That's why I'm truly happy that someone like you, Amy, have become my daughter-in-law.
I also think of you as a real parent. Since my own family lives far away in a rural area, I rely on you a lot. Oh, that's so wonderful. Being able to shop for clothes together and have tea at cafes like this is pure happiness. My mother-in-law was always lovely with a constant smile on her face. She had a great sense of humor and always made me laugh. I really liked my mother-in-law. I was thrilled that I could build a good relationship with my in-laws. Kind-hearted and gentle in every way, my in-laws were a source of my happiness. I was living a life full of happiness in my marriage. However, life is unpredictable. One day, when my husband and I were relaxing at home on our day off, his phone rang.
Huh? It's a call from Mom. I wonder what's going on.
Saying so, my husband answered the call.
What? Dad has been taken to the hospital?
We were immediately informed of this by my mother-in-law and we rushed to the hospital. But my father-in-law had already passed away, unable to receive treatment in time. It turned out that my father-in-law had been on his way to a friend's house when he got involved in an accident. We mourned my father-in-law's death deeply. Tears didn't stop flowing even during the funeral. And the one who suffered the most was my mother-in-law. She suddenly became alone, losing her beloved husband. Both my husband and I were deeply concerned about my mother-in-law. I wondered if she was feeling lonely or depressed by herself. I couldn't help but worry like that. Then one day my husband made a suggestion to me.
If you're okay with it, Amy, would you like to live together with my mom?
I immediately agreed to my husband's suggestion. I've been waiting for you to say that.
Thank you so much, Amy.
My husband quickly proposed the idea of living together to my mother-in-law. Although she felt sorry for causing trouble, when we assured her that she didn't need to hold back, she happily agreed, saying, "Then let's do it." Soon after, we canceled our apartment lease and moved to my in-laws' house. My mother-in-law took on the responsibility of cooking and cleaning for us, a working couple. Her cooking was delicious and I felt happy every day. With my mother-in-law living with us, she started smiling more as if her loneliness had faded away. "Please, teach me how to cook." "Sure, be prepared because I'll give you strict guidance." That strict discipline is old-fashioned, you know. My mother-in-law and I had built such a relationship that we could joke around like that. We truly had a great bond, and there was no sign of the ill treatment by mother-in-laws often heard in society. The time we spent together as a family having meals with my mother-in-law and husband was when I felt the happiest. Even after that, we continued to live happily, supporting each other as a family. However, amidst all that, another unfortunate event occurred. It was when my mother-in-law's health deteriorated and she required care. She had pre-existing health conditions and they had worsened recently. She became wheelchair-bound, and we had to assist her with tasks such as using the bathroom and taking a bath. After discussing with my husband, I decided to quit my job and focus on caring for my mother-in-law and managing the household. "I'm sorry, Amy. It's because of me." "What do you mean?" "You had to quit your job because of me, and now you have to handle caregiving and all the household chores alone. It must be difficult." "Mom, you don't have to worry about that. I'm doing everything willingly and with full understanding. I'll take full responsibility for your care, so please, don't worry." "Thank you, Amy." My mother-in-law felt guilty for causing inconvenience due to her wheelchair-bound condition. However, to me, she was just as important as a real parent, so caregiving was never a burden for me. From then on, I became a full-time homemaker, focusing on caring for my mother-in-law and managing the household. Since my husband is currently working as a department manager, we were able to sustain our lifestyle without any issues, even with me being a homemaker. However, recently I've noticed a slight change in my husband's behavior. I don't know how to describe it, but he has become a bit colder towards me.
Hey, we're having Italian food and minestrone soup again today?
I'm sorry, but I change the ingredients each time.
Huh? Do you think I'll be satisfied just because you changed the ingredients? You're a homemaker, so you should be more creative, right? Shouldn't a good wife prepare different menus every day?
Well, I was taken aback by my husband suddenly making such remarks, and even my mother-in-law, who was eating with us, was surprised and asked my husband, "What's wrong, Tyler? Amy prepares delicious meals for us, and there's no need to talk like that, right?" When my mother-in-law scolded him, my husband looked down and apologized to me.
I'm sorry, I went too far with my comment.
However, I couldn't easily accept his apology because his earlier statement had been quite shocking. Besides, he could have apologized only because his mother scolded him. I still loved my husband, of course, but I felt a bit disappointed. And the problem started from there. My husband began to verbally abuse me when my mother-in-law wasn't around.
You're such a sneaky person, trying to win my mom over. You're a homemaker, but you're so arrogant. Don't think you're equal to me just because I support you financially.
I was confused and troubled by my husband's sudden change in attitude. Why did his behavior change so drastically? I couldn't figure out the cause, and it felt hopeless. Nevertheless, my husband's mistreatment towards me worsened. One day, unable to bear it any longer, I confronted him. "Hey, don't you think your recent attitude towards me is too harsh? I'm working hard to take care of your mom and manage the household, and yet without any sense of gratitude for such things, you treat me this way. I think it's wrong to mock me like that." When I said that, my husband widened his eyes and got angry.
Why are you talking back to me like that? That's why I dislike you.
Huh? Dislike me? What do you mean?
You're always trying to show off how hard you work. I find it annoying, like you're seeking attention.
I'm not trying to seek attention or act like that. Calling me an attention seeker is ridiculous. Rather, I try my best not to worry my husband. I don't intend to convey the extent of how difficult things are for me. So why do I have to hear such things? Since the conflicts like this with my husband, our relationship has become quite uncomfortable. It seems like my husband dislikes having meals together, as he has started increasing his overtime and coming home late at night. Amy, are you okay? You seem to be struggling every day. I'm sorry, Mom. Did something happen with Tyler? It was just a minor argument between us as a married couple, but I'll resolve it on my own. I didn't want to worry my mother-in-law. Besides, I was called an attention seeker by my husband, so I couldn't bring myself to rely on anyone. However, even after that, my husband's terrible attitude towards me didn't change, and I still didn't know what to do. The stress kept accumulating as the days passed. The only time I found solace was when I was with my mother-in-law during the day. Facing my husband made me feel uncomfortable, and he would continue to insult me in various ways. I had considered divorce from my husband, but I couldn't leave my mother-in-law behind. I was deeply troubled and didn't know what to do. It was at such a time that my mother-in-law suddenly said something like this. Amy, could you please leave this house? Huh? I was suddenly told this by my mother-in-law. Come on, Mom, please don't say that. I said that with a smile, but my mother-in-law's eyes were not smiling. Wait. Are you serious about asking me to leave? Yes, I am. I want you to leave this place. Why would you say that? Was my mother-in-law treating me so coldly too? Why did I have to endure such mistreatment? At a loss for my words, my mother-in-law took out a photo from a drawer and showed it to me. I want you to see this. I think it will make you understand what I'm saying. Huh? Upon seeing the photo, I made a decision immediately. I'll leave right away. Do so. I don't want to tie you down. Don't worry about me. Saying that, my mother-in-law started packing my things. I obediently packed my belongings into a suitcase as much as I could and returned to my hometown in the countryside. After a long time, I explained to my parents the reason why I left my in-laws' house. The photo my mother-in-law showed me was of my husband entering a hotel with an unknown woman. In other words, my husband was having an affair. I couldn't forgive him for such an act. Therefore, I decided to return home and proceed with a divorce from my husband. That night, my husband came home from work and immediately called me.
Hey, what's the meaning of this? Why aren't you at home at this hour?
He shouted at me like that. Why? It's because I left that house, obviously.
Huh? You left? You've got to be kidding me. What the hell are you doing outside the house without permission?
He seems to think that I just temporarily left the house. I calmly responded to my husband like this. It's not running away from home. I'm getting a divorce from you.
Huh? Divorce?
My husband was surprised and yelled like that.
What the hell? I won't accept that.
Too bad. But whether you accept it or not doesn't matter. After all, you're having an affair.
What? An affair? I'm not doing something like that.
Suddenly, my husband's voice became quieter. Clearly, he was flustered. Too bad, there's evidence, including photos, so you can't deny it. It seemed like my husband understood that I wasn't bluffing.
Wait. Please, wait. It is true that I had an affair, but it was a one-time mistake. I only met that person once, and I haven't been in contact with the person I had an affair with anymore. I really care about you, Amy. I'll apologize as many times as needed for the affair, so please, don't divorce me.
My husband suddenly changed his attitude and pleaded with me. And furthermore, he brought up my mother-in-law, suggesting that we continue our married life together. Too bad, but it was your own mother who informed me about your affair.
Huh?
My mother-in-law was the first to notice the change in my husband's attitude. It seems she had secretly hired a private investigator to investigate the matter without my knowledge. After confirming the investigation results, it turned out that my husband was indeed having an affair. My mother-in-law was deeply shocked by this revelation. She had been contemplating whether to tell me or not. However, she realized that keeping silent would only cause me more pain, so she decided to inform me. I am truly grateful to my mother-in-law for informing me about the affair. I will never forgive you, and you will pay for betraying me. Goodbye, I'm hanging up now.
Wait.
Without giving him a chance to respond, I hung up the phone and blocked my husband's number. From that point on, I demanded a divorce from my husband through a lawyer and sought compensation from both him and his affair partner. With the evidence against him, my husband couldn't deny his actions, and he was required to pay the compensation. It turned out that his affair partner was originally just a casual fling. It seems that my ex-husband wanted to be with her after our divorce. However, it turns out that his affair partner also considered their relationship as just a fling. It seems that the idea of living together after marriage was rejected by her. Really nice of her. He deserves what he got. Regarding my mother-in-law, she immediately decided to move into a nursing facility in response to my ex-husband's affair. With my late father-in-law's inheritance and monthly pension, she was able to afford a decent facility. As a result, she expelled my ex-husband from the house and even sold their family home to cover the costs of the facility. My ex-husband has been completely cut off by my mother-in-law. He is solely responsible for paying the full amount of the alimony. If he fails to make payments on time, his wages may be garnished. He cannot afford to neglect the monthly payments. From now on, no matter how much my ex-husband receives cold stares from others and lives in poverty, he must continue working to pay the alimony. It's all his own doing, and it serves him right. On the other hand, after taking a short break at my parents' house, I returned to the city, found a new job, and secured a reasonably priced rental apartment. This allows me to work comfortably every day while saving money. I still keep in touch with my mother-in-law even after separating from my ex-husband. I visit her at the nursing facility regularly, and it feels like a good connection. Moving forward, I will cherish my parents and beloved mother-in-law while enriching my own life. It's truly despicable to betray one's own parents and engage in an affair. I felt a sense of satisfaction seeing my ex-husband's downfall in the end. She's fortunate to have had her mother-in-law as an ally. I hope she continues to have a good relationship with her mother-in-law and meet new people. It's a relief that you were able to divorce your terrible ex-husband. I pray that she finds a wonderful partner in the future. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to our channel. See you in the next video.
My mother-in-law told me to divorce her son if I'm going back home to my parents. I agreed and informed my father, and that's when the calls came.
I will be returning to my parents' house for a month. What? What about your household chores? If you're going back, then divorce my son. My mother-in-law threw a divorce document at me. This is convenient. As soon as I left my in-laws, I filed for divorce papers, went back to my parents' house, and informed my father. After 1 month, I received a relentless phone call from my mother-in-law. Please help me. It's my fault. I apologize. My name is Emily. I'm a 38-year-old office worker. Currently, I live in my in-laws' house with my husband, Tucker, and my mother-in-law. Although I should love my husband and be happy about our marriage, I deeply regret marrying him now. It's because my mother-in-law constantly bullies me and never changes her attitude. My husband and I met through work. The company I work for and the company he works for were business partners, and we were both assigned to work with each other. As we worked together several times, we naturally became closer, and one day he invited me to have a meal, which led to us meeting privately. Then we went on a series of dates and started dating. After about a year of dating, he proposed to me, and we decided to get married. It was when I was 35, about 3 years ago. At the beginning of our marriage, we were very happy. We were living together as just the two of us, and I hadn't realized my husband's true nature yet. Both of us had stable jobs and a good income. On weekends, we enjoyed slightly luxurious trips and delicious meals at nice restaurants. Then I believed that I could make more and more pleasant memories with my husband. But 2 years into our marriage, our situation changed. This was triggered by the sudden illness and death of his father. My mother-in-law was very saddened by the death of her beloved husband. Seeing this, my husband asked me for advice.
Would you like to move in with my mother?
Huh? I was a little confused. Indeed, I was concerned about my mother-in-law. However, we had only been married for 2 years. I wanted to live as a couple for a little longer at least. But it seemed like my husband didn't want to leave his mother by herself.
I'm her only son, so I want to take care of my mother as much as possible, you know. In reality, I haven't been filial enough, and my father passed away.
Tucker. Upon seeing my husband looking so sad, I felt the desire to help and support him. But I still regret the decision I made back then. If only I had realized my husband's true nature during that time, I wouldn't have had to go through such hardship. Soon after, my husband and I moved into the in-laws' house. Tucker, it's nice of you to come.
Mother, you can feel relieved now that we're here.
Thank you. Mother, please take care of us from now on. Sure, I will. I wondered if it was just my imagination that my mother-in-law's response to me felt cold. Feeling a bit uneasy, I entered the in-laws' house. My husband and I briefly placed our belongings in the room and then went straight to the living room. I bought some sweets today because you're coming today, Tucker.
Wow, these are pastries from my favorite shop. I love the sweet almond paste they use.
My husband said with a happy expression, and I couldn't help but smile, finding him childlike. But then my mother-in-law directed a cold gaze at me and said, Emily? Yes, what is it? Why are you spacing out? Huh? I bought some pastries, so hurry up and serve the coffee. Sorry. Where are the coffee pots and such? You're utterly useless, aren't you? Huh? Here, it's right here. The wife's shelf is over here. She placed things in a disorderly manner while making that remark. It's because you never helped before that things turned out like this. Although my mother-in-law said that, I couldn't accept it. even before my husband and I regularly visited her house. But even when I offered to help, my mother-in-law would say, "You don't need to help, just sit down," and wouldn't let me into the kitchen. Perhaps she had strong preferences and didn't want her territory disturbed, I thought. Afterward, I made a point of not offering to help anymore. Yet, suddenly, she would get angry with me like that, which I found unreasonable. In response, my mother-in-law glared at me. "Hey, what's with that expression? Do you have a problem or something?" No. I didn't want to directly argue with my mother-in-law. Instead, I wanted my husband to intervene and stop her. Thinking that, I looked at my husband sitting at the dining table. But my husband didn't seem concerned and was busy playing with his phone. It made me angry that he didn't care about me, his wife, being unjustly scolded. I never expected to experience such unpleasantness from the very first day. I became anxious about cohabiting with my mother-in-law. And so the cohabitation with my mother-in-law began. And immediately, troublesome things started happening. It was early in the morning when it happened. "Hey, Emily, why are you still sleeping?" "Huh?" I hurriedly opened my phone and checked the time. Well, Mother, it's only 5 in the morning." "So what? Time flies when you're making breakfast and Tucker's lunch, you know. Besides, you're supposed to clean the bathroom every day." "Huh?" I was shocked by my mother-in-law's words. In the first place, I didn't prepare lunch for my husband, and we didn't eat breakfast because neither of us had a big appetite. Furthermore, I had never cleaned the bathroom before leaving for work because it was exhausting. Certainly, doing all those things required waking up early. But were they really necessary? As I hesitated, my mother-in-law got angry at my lack of action. "What are you spacing out for? Get up quickly. I wonder what kind of education you received to become such a useless person." My anger flared up at my mother-in-law's words. So I decided to do exactly as she said. Every day I woke up at 5 in the morning and prepared lunch and breakfast for my husband and me. Of course, it wasn't just simple cooking. I made elaborate dishes. And I diligently cleaned the bathroom without fail. As for the bathroom cleaning, the more I did it, the better I felt. It was a satisfying feeling to use a clean bathroom every day. My husband also appreciated my efforts in housework and thanked me for the lunch and bathroom cleaning. However, my mother-in-law didn't seem pleased. Her demands towards me kept increasing. "Today, I feel like having Japanese food. No, wait, Italian. Oh, but it has to be properly made. Make pizza from scratch, prepare pasta, and get the red wine from that shop." She made such demanding requests as if it was a special occasion. And the troublesome thing is that my husband listens to everything my mother-in-law says.
"Do it exactly as my mother wants."
Saying that, my husband left everything to me. He didn't help at all. And once I took charge, he didn't do anything else. Most of our precious days off were spent preparing the dinners my mother-in-law desired. Furthermore, my mother-in-law would complain about various things to me. "You're a wife. How long are you going to keep working? Normally, you should be at home supporting your husband. Besides, you're already old, and the deadline for having children is approaching. Do you realize that you're almost worthless?" She showered me with terrible words every day, making me question my mother-in-law's character. What kind of education would raise a person with such a personality as my mother-in-law? And my husband didn't stand up for me at all. One day, while I was already quite irritated due to work fatigue and the stress from my daily encounters with my mother-in-law, my husband says something to me.
"My mom says that you're neglecting the housework. Is that true? You never listen to what I say and always takes a defiant attitude. I used to think it was great that you made lunch for me every day, but now I hear that it's all frozen food."
"Huh? You actually believe those words from your mother?"
"Of course. Why wouldn't I? Are you saying my mom is lying? You're being terrible. Since you're the wife, can't you fulfill your role a bit more properly?
I was extremely angered by my husband's words. What are you talking about? Just confirm it with your own eyes. I make homemade lunches, clean, do laundry, and prepare dinner every day.
I'm telling you to stop lying. What Mom is telling me is true.
Tucker, you're crazy, you mama's boy.
What are you saying?
Because you never believe what I say and never help me.
What exactly do you want me to help with? You're such a bother. It's just as Mom says.
Tucker's face turned red as he angrily responded. Our relationship took a turn for the worse after that big fight, and whenever my mother-in-law would harass me, Tucker would join in and insult me together.
Hey, is the food ready?
I just got home. Please wait a moment.
You're so slow and inefficient.
Well, you're a failure, so it can't be helped.
Never mind. Let's go eat out together.
That sounds good. Let's do that. They left me behind and went out to eat together. I was completely excluded from this household. Every day I was insulted and belittled by the two of them. Do I really need to continue this marriage? That's when an unexpected opportunity came to me. And I thought, with this, I no longer need to be with my husband and mother-in-law. Amidst all this, my husband and mother-in-law continued to harass me as usual. You're truly useless as a daughter-in-law. I can't understand how my son ended up marrying you. She berates me while my husband laughs along. It's about time to make a move. I stood in front of them and said, I'll be returning to my parents' home for a month. Upon hearing this, both of them widened their eyes, surprised and angry. What? What about the house? What if there's a fire?
Yeah, you're being irresponsible beyond belief.
If you're leaving, then divorce my son. My mother-in-law shouted and opened a drawer to take something out. It was the divorce papers. She threw the divorce papers at me. Go ahead, sign it.
Oh, Mom, you're ready for it. That's right. You have no choice but to obey us. If you don't like it, then get a divorce.
This is a convenient situation. Fine, let's get divorced.
Huh?
They both widened their eyes at my response. But I ignored them and picked up the divorce papers, starting to fill them out. Here, I finished my part, so please leave quickly. My husband blinks his eyes at me. Was that hand earlier just a bluff? It was really lame, but when I say that, my husband probably glared at me.
Don't mess around. I'm fine with it. Let's get divorced.
Tucker forcefully snatched the divorce papers from me and filled in his own section.
Is this good enough?
He roughly slammed the divorce papers on the table.
Even if you say you want to take it back, it's too late.
Oh well, this means it's over for you too. In my heart, as she laughed loudly, I thought, it's over for you guys. As soon as I left my in-laws' house, I immediately submitted the divorce papers. I went back to my parents' house and informed my father. He was shocked and immediately said he would take the necessary actions to scold them. Then 1 month later, I received a barrage of calls from my mother-in-law. Hello, you. What do you want? We're complete strangers now. Please don't say that. Tucker and I are in a difficult situation. Oh, really? That must be tough for you. I haven't said anything yet. I'd prefer to end this call. Can I hang up? Wait, I have a favor to ask. Can you convince your father? Why should I? After everything you and Tucker put me through. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know that your father's company is an important business partner of the company Tucker works for. Actually, my father runs his own company and it has grown to a considerable size. He used to have business dealings with Tucker's company too. Well, I believe we discussed that matter before getting married, but at that time my father-in-law was still alive and perhaps my mother-in-law thought she didn't need to be involved in the conversation. As for my husband, it's odd that he doesn't remember, but I suppose he must have forgotten while joining my mother-in-law in berating me. When my father decided to end the business dealings, Tucker's company expressed their desire to continue the contract by letting go of Tucker instead. Consequently, Tucker lost his job. And it turns out that Tucker has suggested remodeling the family home when we were planning to live together, and he had taken out a loan for it. So, considering he's now unemployed, it's nearly impossible to manage loan payments while sustaining a livelihood. Up until now, we've been able to manage because I've been paying my fair share of living expenses as a company employee. But now that I'm divorced, Tucker and my mother-in-law must be in a desperate situation. Why did you feel the need to show off by remodeling the house? Tucker, you have such pride, don't you? You're just like your mother.
Please help me. I apologize for my mistakes.
My mother-in-law, lacking the strength to respond to my provocation, pleaded weakly. I'm sorry, but I will never forgive you for what you've done. If you're expecting me to do something for you, give up and try to find a job, even if it's just for a short period of time. And for me, this conversation is a waste of time, so I'm going to end it now. After saying that, I forcefully hung up the phone and blocked the numbers of my mother-in-law and ex-husband. Afterward, I heard that my ex-husband and mother-in-law couldn't afford to pay the mortgage, so they ended up selling the house. The house wasn't excessively old to begin with. My mother-in-law could have lived in the house during her retirement years. It's truly foolish that they wasted money and let go of it. Currently, my ex-husband and mother-in-law are living together in an apartment on an island somewhere. It seems that my ex-husband is working part-time while they rely on my mother-in-law's pension to make ends meet. On the other hand, I had actually been preparing for an overseas relocation. It would be a waste to rent a new room. So, I'll be living with my parents until the day I move overseas. I'll be spending time with them until then. I'm sure the life and work in the new country will be enjoyable. With excitement and anticipation, I believe that something great is waiting for me. I have high hopes for the rest of my life. It's truly unfortunate that my mother-in-law and husband were so difficult to deal with. I wonder why they felt the need to bully me in such a way. Nonetheless, I'm glad that I was able to cut ties with such terrible people. It would be wonderful if she could find a wonderful man overseas and have an international marriage. I sincerely hope that her future life will be filled with happiness. Thank you for watching until the end. And if you like, please subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.